Have you ever been betrayed or sabotaged by someone who seemed to be your friend? That person who always smiling at you, but behind your back, acted completely differently? If the answer is yes, you are not alone. Envy and falsehood are behaviors that, unfortunately, are part of human nature, and often they go unnoticed until it's too late. But what if I tell you that the wisdom of philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius help us identify and deal with these situations more intelligently and serene? This is exactly what we will explore today. In this video, you will discover 13 Stoic ways to identify envy and falsehood in people, using principles that have resisted the time test. Why is this important? Because in today's world, where social networks and competitive environments amplify toxic behaviors, knowing how to recognize these signs can be the difference between maintaining their inner peace or being consumed by the negativity of others. At the end of this video, you will have practical tools to deal with these situations, cultivating healthier and more authentic relationships. So if you are ready to strengthen your mind and learn to navigate complex social situations without losing your serenity, continue with me. Let's dive into Stoic wisdom and find out how it can turn the way you see and deal with the people around you. Now that you know what to expect from this video, let's understand a little more about Stoicism and why it is so relevant to dealing with behaviors like envy and falsehood. In the next chapter, we will contextualize this millennial philosophy and show how it can be applied in your daily life. Before we dive into the 13 Stoic ways to identify envy and falsehood, it is important to understand what Stoicism is and why it is so relevant today. Stoicism is a philosophy that emerged in ancient Greece and was developed by thinkers such as Zenodicetio, but gained prominence with names such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. These philosophers taught that true happiness comes from within, and that we can control our emotions and reactions even when we cannot control external events. But what does this have to do with envy and falsehood? Stoicism teaches us how to focus on what is under our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, and not to be shaken by the behavior of others. In a world where social networks and competitive environments often encourage comparison and distrust, this philosophy becomes a powerful tool to maintain our inner peace. Imagine, for example, a co-worker who constantly tries to undermine his confidence with criticism disguised as advice. One Stoic would not be shaken by this because he understands that the other's behavior is out of his control. Instead, he would focus on his own actions and how he can respond in a balanced and resilient way. It is exactly this mindset that we will explore in this video. By learning to identify signs of envy and falsehood, you will be better prepared to deal with these situations in a serene and assertive way. And by applying the Stoic principles, you will not only protect your inner peace, but you will also cultivate more authentic and significant relationships. So now that you already understand the context and importance of Stoicism, let's go to the point. In the next few minutes, you will discover 13 practical ways to identify envy and falsehood, all based on the wisdom of the great Stoic philosophers. First way, observe exaggerated compliments. Compliments are always welcome, but when they are excessive or disproportionate, they can hide second intentions. People who praise too much, especially in public, may be trying to gain their trust and then undermine it. As Epictetus said, "Be wary of those who praise too much. They may have ulterior motives." A practical example is a co-worker who constantly exalts his achievements, but at crucial times he tries to sabotage his progress. Practical application. Next time you receive an exaggerated compliment, reflect on the intentions behind it and note if there is consistency in the person's actions. Second way, be wary of disguised criticism. Constructive criticism is valuable, but when they come disguised as advice or concern, they may be a sign of envy. False people often use this device to undermine their trust without hostile. Seneca warned, Beware of those who criticize under the pretext of helping. For example, someone who says, "You did a good job, but I would do differently," may be trying to devalue your effort. Practical application. Upon receiving a criticism, analyze whether it comes from a genuine place or if there is a tone of disdain from behind. Third way, notice the inconstancy in behavior. False people often have inconsistent behaviors. One day they are extremely friendly and the other distant or even hostile. This inconstancy is a clear sign that something is not right. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Observe consistency in actions, not just in words." An example is a friend who only appears when she needs something, but adds when you need support. Practical application. Pay attention to the behavioral patterns of the people around you. If they are unpredictable, it may be a sign of falsehood. Fourth way, identify excessive competitiveness. A little competition can be healthy, but when someone turns everything into a dispute, it can be a sign of envy. Excessive competitive people often try to overcome others at any cost, even if it means belittling their achievements. Epictetus said, "True competition is with yourself, not with others." For example, a colleague who always tries to beat you in meetings or projects may be acting for insecurity. Practical application. Observe whether the person celebrates their victories or trying to diminish them to stand out. These first points already show us how attentive observation can reveal signs of envy and falsehood. Now, let's explore more behaviors that may indicate problems, such as the lack of genuine joy for their success and the presence of malicious gossip. Fifth way, note the lack of genuine joy for your success. One of the lighter ways to identify envy is to observe how people react to their success. Genuine people celebrate your achievements with you, while those who feel envy can pretend happiness or even belittle down your merit. Seneca warned, "Envy hides behind false smiles and empty words." For example, a friend who says, "Congratulations, but it was luck, right?" It may be trying to reduce your effort. Practical application. Pay attention to people's reactions when you share good news. The lack of genuine enthusiasm can be a sign of envy. Sixth way, be aware of malicious gossip and comments. False people often get involved in gossip or make malicious comments on others. If someone talks badly about third parties in your presence, you are likely to do the same about you when you are not around. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Anyone who speaks badly about others to you speaks badly about you to others." An example is a colleague who always comments on the mistakes of others, but never recognizes themselves. Practical application. Avoid getting involved in gossip and note if the person tends to speak ill of others frequently. Seventh way, recognize emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is a common tactic used by false people to control or influence others. They can use emotional blackmail, guilt, or victimization to get what they want. Epictetus warned, "Do not allow others to control their emotions. Maintain dominion over yourself." For example, someone who says, "If you were my real friend, I would do that for me," are trying to manipulate you. Practical application. Be aware of situations where you feel pressured or guilty for no apparent reason. This can be a sign of manipulation. Eighth way, notice the tendency to minimize your achievements. Envious people often try to reduce their achievements, suggesting that they are not as important or that they have been easily achieved. This is a way of invalidating your effort and merit. Seneca said, "Those who try to reduce their achievements are just revealing their own insecurity." An example is a family member who says, "Oh, this is no big deal," when you share a victory. Practical application. Note how people react to your achievements. If they try to minimize them, it may be a sign of envy. These points show how envy and falsehood can manifest in subtle behaviors, such as emotional manipulation and the tendency to reduce their achievements. Now, let's explore more signs, such as lack of empathy and the constant need for attention. Ninth way, identify the lack of empathy. False people often show little or no empathy for the feelings and difficulties of others. They may seem indifferent or even laugh at situations that cause suffering. Marcus Aurelius taught, the true human connection comes from empathy, not indifference. For example, a friend who ignores your problems or treats them as insignificant may be showing a lack of genuine interest in you. Practical application. Note how people react when you share your difficulties. Lack of empathy can be a sign of falsehood. 10th way. Observe the constant need for attention. Envious people often seek constant attention, trying to be the center of attention in any situation. They can exaggerate stories, create dramas, or even try to overshadow their achievements. Epictetus warned, those who seek attention desperately are trying to fill an inner void. An example is a colleague who always tries to steal the scene when you are sharing something important. Practical application. Notice if the person tends to divert the focus to himself at times that should be his own. 11th way. Be wary of empty promises. Unfulfilled promises are a classic sign of falsehood. People who make grandiose promises but never fulfill them may be trying to manipulate or impress unmeritedly to act. Seneca said, the actions speak louder than words. Observe what people do, not just what they say. For example, someone who promises to help with a project but always find excuses not to participate. Practical application. Evaluate people for their actions, not for their promises. 12th way. Realize passive antique envy. Passive antique envy manifests itself in subtle comments, sarcasm, or behaviors that try to decrease you without direct confrontation. Marcus Aurelius taught, sarcasm is the mask of envy. An example is a friend who says, you are so lucky sarcastically, suggesting that your success was not deserved. Practical application. Be aware of comments that seem compliments but carry a tone of disdain or irony. 13th way, recognize the lack of authenticity. False people often act inconsistently, changing behavior depending on the situation or the person with whom they are. They can be extremely friendly in public, but cold and distant in particular. Epictetus warned, authenticity is the basis of trust. Without it, there is no real connection. An example is someone who treats you right in front of others, but ignores you when they are alone. This lack of consistency reveals a fragmented and unfaithful personality. Practical application. Note if the person acts consistently in different situations. Lack of authenticity is a clear sign of falsehood and should serve as an alert to maintain emotional distance. We have reached the end of this video, but the real work begins now. Over the past few minutes, we have explored 13 Stoic ways to identify envy and falsehood in people, from observing exaggerated compliments to recognizing the lack of authenticity. Each of these points was based on the wisdom of philosophers such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, who taught us to focus on what is under our control and not let ourselves be shaken by the behavior of others. The main benefit of applying these principles, of course, you will be better prepared to deal with toxic behaviors, maintaining your inner peace and cultivating healthier and more authentic relationships. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not about external events. Notice that, and you will find the strength. Now it's your turn to act. Start by watching the people around you and applying these 13 ways in your daily life. And if this content has made sense to you, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, share it with friends who can benefit, and leave a comment telling your experience or questions. Together, we can build a more conscious and resilient community. Remember, true strength is to maintain its serenity in the face of adversity. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not about external events. Notice that, and you will find the strength. Nade, thank you for following this video and committing to your personal growth. Together, we are building a stronger and more resilient mindset. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this and share this video with those who need it. Until the next video, where we will explore, enter the theme of the next video, if applicable. Take care and keep seeking Stoic wisdom.